Welcome to the GOTO podcast. Each episode covers the brightest and boldest ideas from the world's leading experts in software development. Tune in for practical lessons, compelling theories, and plenty of inspiration. GOTO gathers the brightest minds in the software community to help developers tackle projects today, plan for tomorrow, and create a better future. Stay up to date with the latest in tech through GOTO's top-rated events held online and in person in cities like Amsterdam, London, Copenhagen, and Chicago, and by subscribing to the GOTO Conference's YouTube channel, where you can find thousands more high-quality dev talks. Learn more at gotopia.tech.
Hi, I'm Eric Johnson. I'm from AWS Cloud, and this is
Tibi Covaci, and I'm from Azure.
Wow, in the same room. We're pretty excited. We're here at GOTO Aarhus. Did I say that right?
Aarhus. Who's its house, yes.
Aarhus. Our house, Aarhus. And this is GOTO Unscripted, and we're going to chat cloud.
Yes, we're going to talk about cloud.
Yeah, what's your role at Azure?
So my role is application innovation lead. So that means I'm helping customers to innovate their applications.
Okay.
And one of the things that it's indispensable in your innovation journey is the cloud. So that's what I'm trying to convince them about the need of cloud.
Okay.
And I trying to understand what my role is actually was I started to look around and see what actually app innovation is. And you can find many definitions, which makes it a little bit difficult for people to know what it's all about. And I said, you need to use DevOps, you need to do cloud native things, and that made actually that's how your app innovation journey would be much better. And I tend to agree with that. But then you start to dissect that and look into details.
Right.
Cloud native. If you look for the definition, you get the hundreds of them.
Yes, you do.
Again, what does it mean? And DevOps. Again, 100 people, 110 definitions of DevOps. So that makes it, interesting and challenging at the same time, I would say.
So it sounds like you have the same challenge I do in that. Well, I mean, you asked my wife what I do. What is his role? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure what he does. He travels, he speaks, he goes to a lot of, whatever. So, but yeah, I agree with you. So my role, I'm a developer advocate for serverless at AWS. And, but before that, I spent a lot of time with a partner company as a solutions architect and spent a lot of time doing what you're talking about in understanding or helping customers understand why the cloud. And understanding the advantage of just starting with the cloud itself and then climbing into cloud native. I do like that you say, because I say the same thing. If you put 100 people in a room, you'll get, for serverless specifically, you'll get 110 definitions because someone will go, I like that, I'm changing mine.
Exactly.
So how do you, all right, so let's put you on the spot. How do you define cloud native?
So cloud native is actually, not only moving your stuff into the cloud, because that's not native at all.
Right.
A lot of customers are doing, say, you know what, we did lift and shift, we are now in the cloud, so we are 100% cloud company. I'm like, are you really? Like, are you?
That's right.
So cloud native is actually using the bare bones of the cloud, whatever cloud has to offer. And that includes the serverless part.
Yeah.
But that includes as well, like if you need a messaging infrastructure, why would you do it yourself? If you need logging, why would you do it yourself? If you need identity, and security, why would you do it yourself?
That's right.
I mean, of course, if you have 1,000 people working for you with developing that and making sure you do the right thing, that makes perfect sense. But when you have but few companies that are hiring 1,000 people, literally more than that even, to actually do those things and making sure they are doing a very good job, then I think we are, you're better off starting to look into the cloud native. Like, what are the cloud, the cloud services that are already there? And I'm not talking, I can put a virtual machine. That's a cloud service, indeed.
But it's not.
But it's not. It's not what it's all about.
Right.
Like storage. Do I really want to go and map it to a disk, or should I understand, an S3 bucket or an Azure storage?
Right.
What do I want? Actually, what is?
Well done, by the way.
Yes. What am I trying to do? So, and that's the whole thing.
I love that. I've had that same conversation many times. In that, it's you alluded to earlier. It's like, all right, I've lifted and shifted. I have 300 EC2 instances or Azure. I do not know the Azure name for it, and so it should be free, right?
Yeah.
We should see massive cost savings. We say no. Well, that's great. Getting in the cloud, you take the low hanging fruits are things like the scalability.
Yes.
And as an SA, I spent a lot of time saying, let's start. Don't stop at the lift and shift.
Yeah.
Because you might see some advantage of running it, but not the great advantage.
Yeah.
You're still up at night when something goes down.
Yeah.
You're still managing database, things like that.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Cloud native is really the use of, and this may be too broad a stroke, but it's almost it's the use of services over you coding for it.
Yes, exactly.
We pay developers a lot of money to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
And I really encourage folks to get away from that. At AWS, I know, especially in serverless, to say, are you writing your own authentication?
Yeah.
Why?
Yes.
And secondly, that's scary. We have experts, and Azure's the same way, experts who are working with identity and access management and building that and testing it and hardening it. And really, it makes more sense to take advantage of those services and really turn your developers' attention to what differentiates you from your neighbor,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, because we as developers sometimes tend to forget what is it the business value that we are trying to bring. And it's not only the developer's fault, I would say, but sometimes it's our fault too as developers. But is that, the business does treat us like we are a commodity, I think, and we are the guys in the basement. We are but now they start to realize, actually, those are the guys that keep the lights on. Those are the guys that to not only make sure that we have a computer to run with, our applications, our business systems are working and they are up and running.
Yeah.
So more and more, depending on technology, and more companies are actually realizing that this is not a joke anymore. And if you look out there, like every company out there wants to be a software company. And I would say Amazon was opening the door for that, because everybody uses Amazon as an example.
Yeah.
Oh, they used to be a book company, and now look, they are the biggest.
That's right.
The biggest cloud provider. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Because they see, they saw actually a need for something, and they start to use that, and they had people with visions that made it possible. And that's why I think cloud is a very important aspect to any innovation journey. And again, looking into cloud native.
I don't disagree. I really struggle with we do our own data center.
Oh, well.
We know better. And I'm not, there are people, this is going to shock you, there are people smarter than me out in the world. But I think it's always interesting to me that where it makes more sense. And, and I hate saying this word, but I'm going to say it anyways, that total cost of ownership. And you really struggle to get people to understand how much time are you spending managing your data center, building data centers, patching power, all those things, when you can roll all that off to an Azure, to a GCP, to an AWS.
But it's a different cost center. That's the thing. They're like, for them, their cost with their IT cost, is how much do we pay for the machines? Yeah. We rent them for 3 years or lease them for 3 years. We have them, we can use them, and that's it. And that's the end of the story. But is it really? Because you have the people, you need to think about the insurance of the building. You need to think about
the machines,
energy bill, all those things. Like now, more and more people are talking about sustainability.
Yeah.
Are you really having people on your payroll that do the sustainability journey on your data center?
That's right.
Are you sure that you are using renewable energy? I mean, I don't know what story is at AWS, but at Microsoft we can at least show you exactly where the energy comes from. We started to do that because we see people like, we have an accountability when it comes to sustainability. Mm-hmm. So how can we account for those kind of things? Yep. And that makes it very, very interesting for a lot of people. And looking at the way, the things are shifting. Because now with the cloud, everything becomes OpEx, or most of it is not the CapEx anymore. You don't have to have a capital expenditure. You pay for what you use.
That's right.
And what you say, you move it to Azure and then, or to AWS, and then you are in the cloud, and then you've done it. Not really. but there are some advantages as well.
Yeah.
I can look at how much do I spend. I can optimize. I can have my operations optimized as well.
Yeah.
If I'm using a machine only 5% of the time or 10% of their resources, why not moving down?
Yeah.
But you don't have that on your own data center.
Now, when you go CapEx, like I haven't used CapEx in a while because I work in serverless, right? CapEx? But when you're CapEx, you're in.
Yeah.
You can't go back to the bank and go, or the vendor go, I'm not using 50% of this. Yeah. I'd like 50%. Whereas every month, even when you're doing, VMs, it's okay. Let's reduce that. Yeah. There's an adjustability that's built in there. Yeah. But then when you go the cloud native and you go serverless and y'all are the same way. Then you get into only pay for what you use. Yeah. And that's a really interesting, I love watching the light go on. Yeah. But you go, wait a minute. There's no, because of course there's servers and serverless. I always think, what do you mean there's no servers? No, we're running it on my mom's microwave. Yeah. Yes, there are servers and serverless, but you don't pay for them. Yeah. You don't use them. And the same with, the services that, like the storage, the Azure storage and the S3. Just what you use. Yeah. S3 was one of the first to do this, in to come out with the idea of object storage versus, you said earlier, disk storage. Yeah. I have to provision 20 gig or a petabyte or whatever versus I have 7.2 gig, that's all I'm going to pay for. Someone went away, that's what I'm going to pay for. Yeah. What a difference in how you look at that.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest problems is that serverless is a misnomer. Because like you said, it's not that there is no server. Right. I would call it server.
You stop talking.
Yeah, exactly. I would say server, I couldn't care less, about the server.
That's right. But that doesn't fit on the card.
No, exactly. It's much shorter and it feels much better.
Serverless. Exactly.
But one of the things that serverless actually does is like, okay, what's your code? Do you really care about the machine? As a developer, you care about your laptop, you care about your machine. And I know, we used to call them server huggers, like people that really want to embrace the server and the machines. Yeah. But think about it now, like if I have a piece of code and I don't really need to worry about it. Like as a developer, I usually send it to the operation and they put it on their own machines. I still don't care about the server, although I know there is a server there. Why would I not abstract that away?
Yeah, and that's the question I have, and I think a lot of it is just awareness and understanding. When you get into cloud native, you talk about understanding how, and for us also, we've started building out these different services like step functions, or where it's now we're even saying, well, let's reduce the code and move to configuration. Yeah. So I can do some things in configuration that are automatically going to, and where this really becomes beneficial is I can say, okay, it's going to handle my error handling, it's going to handle my retry, all those things, and I'm not writing a line of code. And developers are going, oh, hold on. But when they kind of get that, now it's not just code, you worry about the service, now it's only the time I have custom logic. Now I can start farming even lines of code off to services. And that's really, serviceful is almost I don't know if it's a better name, but it's another name for serverless. Yeah.
So if you look at Docker, that, which is actually the sidecar for Kubernetes clusters.
Right. Sidecar, love that name.
Yeah, you can actually put it in there and you make sure that if you have service-to-service communication, I don't have to remember where you are. I just register that and I put another header on my call, and then Docker takes care of that. Retry logic, no problem. We got you covered. Yeah. Why would I put the while loop and try and read the configuration from here and there and just do it? Did we say 3 times or 5 times, or did we say 5 minutes? What did we say? So that's the whole thing. Yeah. And even looking at databases, for instance, like talking about serverless with databases, a lot of people are like, how does it work? Simple. A database at the end of the day, it's a storage plus a compute resource. And if you don't make any calls, you still use the storage which you pay for, but you don't need to provision any compute. Right. You might have a small instance running, so you want to have the speed of it, so it's already provisioned. Right. But if you have a lot of people asking, submitting queries to your database or, the calls to your database, then you can actually scale up. Yep. And your wallet is the limit. How much am I ready to pay for it? I put a cap on that, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's interesting. And so we have DynamoDB as our kind of serverless. Yeah, it was one of them. But that you can say, look, I'm going to give you 3 reads per second, 3 writes per second. And we can burst that if we need to, or I can cap that and say let's 429 that if there's a problem. Let's hey, you're out of those, and that allows me to go, okay, I can grow, I can be ingested, but I can monitor that spend and I can monitor that control. But at night when it's shut down, I'm not paying for those reads and writes. And I think I'm just repeating what you're saying, but it's getting your head around the idea of just, and because it changes the way you develop. Too. It changes. One of the things we talk about a lot is moving from synchronous to asynchronous. Yeah. How much can you do without the customer going, I'm waiting. How much can I say, all right, we've got your request, we'll get back to you, versus wait. I built a translation app that we use some of our services, some of the AI ML, and it was kind of interesting. I built one synchronous where you send it a string of text and then you send it an array of cultures. You say, I want to translate it to this many things. So it takes it and then synchronously what we would do is in a Lambda function we'd do the translation, get back, then we'd do the next one, get it back to the next one. Or you could get an array of them back. But it's all synchronous, the customer's waiting. And that's fine if the string of text is 50 characters, something like that. But what if it's the first 3 chapters of War and Peace? Right? And so then it's like, okay, what's that going to take? How long am I going to sit? And in Lambda functions, we have a 15-minute timeout, and that's by design. There's some obviously reasons for that, but the idea is, hopefully you're thinking more asynchronously. So I also do an example where in this one, instead, you make the request and it responds to the customer and says, we've got your request, we're working on it, and then in parallel I can say, okay, fire up 30 lambdas to do it, whatever, 30, whatever. Step functions, as you well know in cloud native, it's like, how are you going to do it? It depends. There's multiple ways of doing it. That's the development way, right?
Yes.
Then we can notify the customer. I can either pull from the client, just polling, or I'll use WebSockets to notify them. And then they're not waiting, and it's done. Then I have some parallel processing I can use. And so that's what we talk about. How are you architecting? When you think about only pay for what you use, are you using it in the most efficient way? Yeah. Would a batch of events make more sense than firing on every event? It changes how you develop.
And that's the thing, it depends, but you need to test it, to test it. You need to try it. And a lot of people are saying, but you know what, when you say it depends, it's actually you are blowing me off. Actually, no, I'm not blowing you off, but I don't know your problem enough to come with you to be confident enough to tell you this is the best solution. Yep. I can give you a first solution, which you can try out. But I don't know all the implications. I don't know all the corner cases. And whatever we are developing for 80% of the cases. We are not in the business of silver bullets. Although a lot of people are thinking, so now if I move to cloud, all my problems are solved? I don't think they are solved. But you still have to do a lot of work. But you have a lot of solutions to your problems, and you still have to make the choice.
That's right. And that brings, coming back to cloud native on that idea and services. Yeah. If I have to try again on, we got the wrong computer, we need more scale, we need whatever, or we need to upload code. I can change my architecture in minutes. It's just a redeploy of architecture, right? And same with y'all. So that proof of concept. Is this what you wanted? No, that's not what I wanted at all. Okay, no problem. Sure. Is this what you wanted? And you can iterate so fast with cloud native. That it just makes sense.
You can do that on your data center too. You need to create a purchase order, and you need to wait for the servers. You need to put them in there, and then connect them. Oh, that was the wrong server. We need more. We need bigger. Another month of waiting.
That's right.
So we can do that in a data center too.
Yeah, you can, but it's expensive. Yeah, and that's one of the things we talk a lot about is that provisioning process and who's building it. If Eric Johnson's building it, he's going to get it wrong the first 3 times minimum. So I don't know how much. You said you don't know too much about Azure, but when Microsoft started with Azure, we had a different model of working, which was called Azure Service Model, which was very transactional. Okay.
And back in 2013, 2014, some smart people realized that actually that's the wrong way of doing things. So let's move into what we call now Azure Resource Manager model.
Okay.
But that was, like one of the examples that we were starting to use back then. Like you can deploy a SharePoint infrastructure in less than 2 hours, and that's the thing. Press the button, it gets deployed.
Yeah.
Of course, the idea being you're still on your data center. You still want to move things back and forth. So that's how you do it.
Right.
And of course, you have to deploy them. Now, I used to call all those things that we are doing now when we talk about infrastructure, and that's why, like, even your VM, it should be a serverless kind of thing at the end of the day, because it's a disposable infrastructure. If for 5 years ago, 5 years ago, we were bound to a certain platform, to certain machines that were already in production, running other things.
Them after our family,
petting them and stuff like that, and then we were always dependent on the version of the framework that we were using, on the patching level of the operating system, and we couldn't do anything about it because IT was in charge and they were, controlling that, and they were having their process of making any upgrades or anything. Now, I don't care. Like, I have version 1 running in production. Now I can look at version 2. What changes do I need to make to the infrastructure? Let's go into the code. Let's change something, commit, and then try deploy it. Works, that's fine. No problem whatsoever. Put it side by side. It works. Switch to that one. Well, you're done.
That right there is a key point. Before side by side meant I'm buying a whole copy of everything.
Yes.
Versus even in the instance world, I'm going to spin up blue green. There you go.
Yeah.
However you want to do it. Canary, however, and the same with the cloud native. We offer we do the cloud native deploys. But the ability to move, and I think that, to me, cost obviously is huge. So it depends on who you're talking to. C-level cost. Yeah. But developers, the ability to move so fast, and that's important to C-level too. When I say time to market, I'm cutting time to market, by hundreds. That's huge.
I will call that time to value.
Time to value, okay. All right.
So, because market is one thing. Yeah,
Tibi,
I know.
Just kidding.
No, but that's the thing, because once I got an idea, how long does it take for me to see value out of that idea?
Yeah.
And with the cloud, that business agility that you get makes it much, much, much better for a lot of people. That's what I really like about, having access to the cloud. I used to work for a company that went belly up 22 years ago. We were actually one of the very first company to offer reservations via internet. Internet was not the thing back then.
Yeah.
The name of the company was Book Visit. So like the very, very catchy.
Okay.
The domains were available. We could buy all of them.
Yeah.
No problem whatsoever.
Now.
We got $2 million. We spent 90% of the money on infrastructure. We had servers, all of them connected, like clustered, with licenses, full blown, licenses for Azure, for Oracle databases, and for Sun Solaris machines.
Yes.
You needed to run, and we needed to run, a Java application. And the problem was that we had only about 100 hotels in our database, because we were still at the beginning.
Yeah.
But because we spent so money on the servers.
No money for development.
No money left for development, for anything, so we went belly up. Like if Azure or AWS would have been a thing back then, that I could have actually do that and not spend the money on the infrastructure, but just running my application, then I would have been much happier. Not only that, running the same application with this full database on my machine, which was a $2,000 laptop, was much quicker because I didn't have to do all the load balancing. I didn't have to talk between machines. Everything was on one machine. It was just working.
Yeah, it just works on my machine.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things I've always said is the cloud. The cloud is a great leveler in that it allows two developers in a garage to have the same power that the enterprises have. One of the fun things that I had a talk earlier. One of the fun things I like to say, I always make the joke: has anybody ever heard of Amazon.com? You go, they all raise their hand. So the same database that they use to power Amazon.com, I'm using in this little coffee shop thing, and it's like, whoa, I have access to that. You do have access to it. Now you're not going to probably pay the same bill that Amazon.com does. You probably have less data, but it's what you use, what you get. But you have it, and you have it today. Yeah. Without having to spin up anything. Exactly. And so, it's a powerful thing.
And all the things that you get, like if you want email, before you had to install a whole server or go to,
Yes.
Now you just go there and pay
Office 365. That's right.
$5 a month, and then you got it. You have access
That's
to
what my
email.
family runs on. So yeah.
Which makes perfect sense at the end of the
does.
day. So that's why I'm like, why not tapping into it?
Yeah. Well, great conversation. I really
Likewise.
appreciate it. I know people are going to go, oh, there they are, same room. I really appreciate getting to chat with you, getting to be here live from Aarhus. Aarhus. Oh, man. I just destroy you. Make me sound cool when you play that back and stuff. So, Tibi, I appreciate your time.
Likewise,
it was great to meet you. With that, do you have anything you want to throw out before we say goodbye?
And maybe they can add some thunders here in between us.
Exactly. So the people are going to be, that was disappointing. There was nothing thrown there.
Nothing like in the demo.
Yeah, exactly. It's a smackdown, but not really.
Yeah.
So bottom line, get cloud, people.
Yes, go to the cloud. Yeah,
that's right. All right, well, we'll say goodbye and thanks, and
Thank you.
See you next time.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the GoTo Podcast. Head over to gotopia.tech to discover lots more content from the brightest minds in software development.